Hey everybody, how are you doing? My name is Charles, and today I wanted to talk real quick about the recent, as in yesterday, Starlink price increase. So that happened. Okay, so first things first, I got an email yesterday afternoon from Starlink saying that the prices were going to increase on both the hardware and the service itself. Now, previously, you paid a $100 deposit, and then you paid an additional price for the rest of your dish. Now, the price of the dish hardware itself, the base package, was $499. So you pay a $100 deposit, then you pay another $399 to make the $499 plus tax, so it was a little bit more than that, in addition to any accessories you might want to buy. Now, I do want to clarify one thing on some of the articles I've read. They're giving a higher starting figure because they're rolling the first month service into the price. But originally you buy the system. Once you have the system set up, you then start your service payment afterwards. So you do get the dish set up, and then you'd actually have a small grace period. It's like 3 or 4 days, maybe it was a week. I don't remember from when I first set up the dish to when billing actually started on it. So you don't have to pay your first month the day you sign up for your dish. It's right after you get your dish, then you start paying for your service itself. They probably want to make sure that once you've got your dish in place, that it is actually going to work before they start charging you service. Or maybe they're just accounting for shipping delays. I don't know. But that's how it was for me. So some of the articles out there mention a much higher price because they're rolling that initial $100 a month into the pricing structure. So again, it used to be you paid a $100 deposit, you paid another $400 to make your $500 total, and then after you got everything set up, you paid your $100 a month starting then. The new pricing structure is a little bit higher. So if you've already paid your $100 deposit, okay, so you've already put your money on and you're waiting and waiting and waiting. Well, instead of being $399, the balance of the $499 deposit, now it's going to be $449. It's $549 for a total system price if you've already paid your deposit. If you have not paid your deposit and you are looking to sign up, your total system cost now is $599 up front. So the system price is increased $100 for the package itself, or if you're already on the waiting list, by $50. So it's kind of a half and half, right? Now, this isn't unheard of. Some of the other articles have mentioned Rivian did this not too long ago where they increased the price of their electric pickup truck by $14,000. So a much bigger jump, at least in the grand scheme of dollar figures go. And they had some PR recovery to do after that one. But Starlink has increased their system price effectively $100 over what it used to be. The service price is also increased from $99 a month to $110 a month. Now, the email states that this is due to the excessive rise of inflation. Maybe there's some behind-the-scenes stuff as far as supply chain and things like that go. Can't tell you there. But what we can talk about is it still worth it for the extra $100 for the hardware? And is the service now worth the extra $11 a month? Now, we're going to leave the hardware side out of this for the time being, and let's talk about pricing. So $110 a month for, on average, 100 megabits per second or higher. Now, I lost my phone. Oh, I'm on my phone. I can't tell you on my phone. But I still get anywhere from 100 to 200 megabits down per second, and again, 10 or more on the upside. That's again, only going to increase as the constellation of satellites gets bigger, and it will be more stable it that way. Now, a gentleman just commented on my video I put about gaming on Starlink. Now, I had no issues with it, but he's in a different part of the world, and unfortunately, there are some dropouts on their end that were causing some issues with iRacing for them. Now, again, mileage may vary depending on your area, depending on your obstructions, depending on the constellation of satellites and coverage. It can affect your service. Now, again, it only gets better from here, but it's not going to be for everybody yet. Now, $110 a month for 100 megabits per second. I'm not going to do the whole let's break it down into megabits per dollar format, but I will compare it to the other big satellite internet providers out there. You have Viasat and you have HughesNet. So this chart behind me is on a page that kind of gives a comparison of the three. Now, it doesn't have Starlink updated yet because, again, the pricing just changed. but I'll leave a link to this page below, and it gives you kind of a breakdown. They are fairly current. This information, I think, was accurate as of February, so it's still pretty recent. And it'll give you a chart and a breakdown and some more finer points of the three major systems. So first I want to talk about HughesNet. HughesNet has 4 different tiered pricing based on a data allowance per month: 15, 30, 45, and 75 gigabytes. Now those pricing plans go from $64.99 a month for the 15 gigabyte, $74.99 for the 30, $109.99 for the 45 gigabyte model. Now that's on par with Starlink's new pricing. And then you have a 75 gigabyte plan for $160 a month. Now again, they all have the same download speed of 25 megabits per second. So a quarter of what you get with Starlink on all tiers. The only difference is what your data allowance is. For comparison's sake, 4K video streams back at anywhere from 6, 7, all the way up to 15 gigabytes of data per hour when you're taking into consideration things like frame rate. 1080p, you drop it down to that level, and you're looking at 2 to 3 gigabytes per hour. You'll go through these data allowances really quick if you're actually streaming video. If you're streaming at the highest possible resolution 4K on YouTube for whatever reason, you're going to blow through your entire month's data allowance in 5 hours. Even if you're at 1080p and you've gone through and you've set your Netflix account to make sure you're only streaming at that quality, you're still only looking at, a dozen and a half movies or shows over the course of a month, an entire month, before you're out of data allowance. And that's not doing anything else. That's not counting any games you play, which is a lot harder to do on HughesNet and Viasat because of the latency. They're a much higher orbit, or Facebooking or whatever you do. So data allowances are kind of a pain when you're dealing with satellite. Most fixed broadband places don't have one that will be in effect a deal breaker, right? So there are some companies out there, some landline companies, that do have a data cap or they'll throttle after a certain point, but it's a much, much higher number, to the point where most households won't hit it. I can promise you a lot of households will hit the HughesNet caps. Works great if you're in an area where nothing else is available, but it's kind of like saying, okay, I will pay out the nose for a service that at least gives me some sort of internet, but you're really we're not going to go there. So we're going to put HughesNet on the bottom of my list, right? So if we scroll down to Viasat's chart, we'll look here, same thing. 4 plans. We have a bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. So you got a bronze 12, unlimited silver 25, gold 50, platinum 100. That's basically your megabit download speed as advertised. Their data caps do exist, but they're a little bit different. So whereas HughesNet, their plans are named after their data caps, Viasat is named after their speed, so at least it's more transparent in that. So our pricing starts, and this one's a little bit tricky. And again, this is basically because this chart shows a promotion that I believe is an ongoing thing. But again, if you're interested in this particular service, you'll have to go kind of check out their website directly and see what they're offering. Start with bronze 12. Okay, that's a 12 megabits per second download speed, a tenth of what you get on Starlink, for an introductory price of $50 a month, half of Starlink. That price jumps to $69 a month after the first 3 months. So your first 3 months are an introductory price of $50, then you go to $70 a month for 12 megabits download and a data cap of 40 gigabytes. So not that great. Stepping up to the 25, okay, now 25 megabits, we're back to HughesNet speed, we're a quarter of Starlink. We're going to pay $69 a month for the first 3 months, and then $99 a month, $10 less than Starlink, after the first 3 months for 25 megabits download with, let's say, a 60 gigabyte data cap. Not much more data, double the speed. That makes it worse, probably. You can chew the speed up faster. So plan 3, the unlimited gold, starts at $99, goes to $150 after 3 months for 50 megabits with a 100 gigabyte cap. And then their top tier, their platinum, starts at $150 a month, first 3 months. $200 a month after that for a 100 megabit download speed with a 150 gigabyte data cap. So $200 a month for a 100 megabit download speed, which is what Starlink averages. They say averages. Again, your mileage may vary, but $200 a month versus $110 for the same speed. HughesNet doesn't even get that close in speed. So when you compare the three, just on performance to pricing, you're not going to come close with the other two carriers to Starlink's services. Now, that's the data side. That's the plan itself. You'd have to spend twice as much on Viasat to get the same speed. HughesNet, you can't get the same speed at all, not even close. And you could easily pay as much or more for what effectively is browsing-only solutions, because you can't stream with today's things. Starlink, as of yet, now the pricing increased, no data change, no data cap or anything like that. So that's the service side. Still can't touch Starlink's value when it comes to the dollar and performance when you're looking at satellite internet. So I do want to remind people, again, just a shout out there, that Starlink is not designed to replace fiber internet or high-speed broadband solutions that are currently in place wired that customers can get. It's designed for those people in the middle of nowhere that don't have any better services, and for that, it works great in most areas where there's coverage already or will be. Okay, so now let's look at the hardware cost between Starlink and HughesNet and Viasat. So we'll start with Starlink, $600 now upfront hardware cost. That gets you your dish, your mount, your modem, cable, and then you can purchase extra accessories. They're really not that expensive to purchase some of the extra accessories, but they are an extra purchase if you want to mount them in a different way. Now in my case, I have the regular mount just screwed down to the roof of my other shed. I'm waiting still, unfortunately, with supply issues for the actual wall mount that I had, but that wasn't very expensive. Likewise with the Ethernet adapter, I think it was 25 bucks. So they're not horrible expenses, but you can also pick them up whenever, depending on availability. 600 bucks for Starlink. Let's go over to HughesNet. So HughesNet, their equipment cost is $450. So if you're thinking that, well, I'll just save all that upfront cost, no, you really won't. So HughesNet, you're looking at $450 upfront for the dish cost, or if you sign an agreement to stay with 2 years, it's $15 a month on top of your monthly bill, which is already, as we've discussed, not really a great value when it comes to what else is out there. But if you do the math, $15 a month over 2 years is cheaper than $450 up front. But you're locked in for 2 years, or you have to pay everything back if you cancel and all that stuff. So HughesNet is a little bit cheaper when it comes to the upfront cost. Viasat, cheaper still. $300 for the hardware cost, or $9.99 a month on top of your bill. So the equipment cost on Starlink is the most expensive of the three, double the cost of Viasat, and a quarter the cost more, 25% more, so give or take, of HughesNet. So the hardware cost is a little bit more, but what you have to look at in the grand scheme is how is the service then going to be going forward. HughesNet could give me free hardware. I'm not going to have a good experience for what my use case scenario is for it. Now, if all you're doing is uploading emails from a job site remotely, okay, it's a lower cost. Maybe you go with the low-end plan. Maybe that's fine. For the average consumer, I think there's a lot more data being used between videos and streaming and uploading and content consumption. So when you look at the content that people are consuming now, data caps are going to come into play a lot more often than somebody at a remote job site. Viasat, much cheaper upfront cost, half the cost of Starlink. They do have much higher data caps. Unfortunately, the speeds for the packages are still a lot lower than what you get with Starlink. And again, maybe the speed isn't so much an issue. Now, don't get me wrong, 25 megs, 50 megabits per second download, still pretty quick. It's not bad. You can still certainly stream a 4K video that way. You do have the data cap to contend with, but the point I'm making is that for the price you pay with HughesNet or Viasat monthly, discounting the hardware cost, the Starlink service is going to be 4 times faster for the dollar with no data cap to worry about. So when you consider that, it's a very strong reason to consider Starlink even at a higher upfront cost still. The only caveat I can say is that as of right now, your Starlink is not available everywhere. It is still being built up, it is still being built out, and is not available everywhere. HughesNet and Viasat have been in place for a while, and they do have a lot better coverage right now. So if you are looking for satellite internet because you don't have any other options, but you need it now, you may end up having to go that other route. So if this was me personally and I lived in a spot where I needed internet right now, did not have broadband and had no satellite options, personally I would probably spend the $300 up front for a Viasat system, throw a $100 deposit on Starlink over on the other page because we don't know how long it's going to take. I'm still up front less than I was with a HughesNet system, even split between two companies now. I let that $100 sit over on the Starlink site, waiting. I've got my Viasat system coming. I throw it up, or I have it installed. I then have, maybe I'll go with the $100 package. The bronze package is $70. The $100 package is the silver, but it gives me a little bit better speed, and I get a little bit better data cap allowance. So I probably go with that. Plus, it's $100 a month. When I switch to Starlink, it's going to be $110. So there's not going to be a big monthly shock. My internet bill is not going to double. It gets me internet going while I wait for a better solution to come to my area. So, with the price increase, is Starlink still worth it? Yeah, kinda. If you're in an area where you don't have any other options, it's still hands down the best performer when it comes to the service, even at the price point of $110 versus what it was. Hardware cost, it's the most expensive of the three, but when you roll out the differences in your experience when it comes to the service, I think it's well worth the extra money. And yeah, it's hard to compete with no data cap and 4 times the speed. The only way to get the speed is to go with a Viasat package at the top tier, which is almost twice as much per month, which means that the hardware savings is gone after your first 2 months of service, and you only have 150 gigs of data per month. Maybe that's enough, but why spend twice as much for the speed you can get with Starlink with no restrictions? Just seems silly. Anyway, that's my take on the pricing increase and how it's gone. And again, it's not to compete with fiber. So yes, you can pay less per month with these fiber packages and promotions out there. But if you have fiber available, like I do, you really shouldn't need Starlink. I have it because I ordered it before fiber came, and I really don't need it, but I'm using it to judge my experience in the event that I ever need to disconnect from the fiber connection, or if the fiber ever goes down in the area, it is still a physical connection, a physical wire. So I have it kind of as a backup at this point out in the middle of nowhere. I do work from home, kind of need to have it. Anyway, that's my opinion. Those are my thoughts. Feel free to leave any comments below, and thanks for watching.